So, the Aiyuk deal got done how?
I mean, I feel like we've talked about this weekly for 6 months here. And this is very much, in my mind, I mean, it's a marriage of convenience. This has gone through, go all the way back to March when the 49ers didn't want to get this deal done at, let's call it 25% less than what it ultimately cost them here. They just, based upon where they are at salary cap wise, the guys that they're paying, they weren't willing to get into that stratosphere. So you have this off-season long standoff. You have a bunch of different meetings of Aiyuk with Kyle Shanahan, with other members of the organization, John Lynch. Then at the start of camp, obviously, the hold-in begins. They're still hopeful maybe something's going to happen, but the 49ers really want to make him another offer. Then the 49ers start calling a bunch of different teams, the Patriots, the Browns, the Steelers. They're all in on it. But all of a sudden it became clear Aiyuk wasn't going to go to another team. Again, this thing keeps going back and forth. Earlier this week, the 49ers are calling teams again and saying, what if we tried to re-engage? What if we can get Aiyuk to come there? Could we trade him to Pittsburgh and still get this? In the end, they were like $1 million apart. And I know that, Ryan Williams, who's Aiyuk's agent, got on social media last night because there was speculation of, it's the same deal they had on the table 3 weeks ago, and wrote something along the lines of that's factually inaccurate, but the check still cashes.
Yes.
They were like $1 million apart, which in my mind is the 1 yard line. It's also a great reminder that there is no close on these deals. It's done or it's not. We can all sit back and go, was it really worth 3 weeks and multiple walkouts and nearly trading them away and Aiyuk being mad and all the posts? Was it worth it for that extra few $1 million out in like the 4th year of the extension? You can argue that either way. I'd say no. If you're going to pay him 29, why not just pay him 30? They got to the number. Aiyuk had a number in his head. The 49ers didn't want to go there. In the end, they found a way to get it done. But this was very edgy, Rich, until like the last 48 hours here. He was in the building and walked out 2 days ago because he was mad.
So, but the number that they reached, isn't that with money on the back end that Aiyuk may never see?
It's a strong deal up front.
Right.
The issue was whether or not they would put the extra $4 million in the 4th year to bring the average up.
So why didn't they do that to begin with?
Because there are teams that have fundamental principles that they operate their business by.
Yes.
They had gotten to a certain number that, again, they never intended to go to here. That's why I go back to the marriage of convenience. You had Aiyuk, who wasn't going to get paid as much anyplace else, definitely wouldn't be with a Kyle Shanahan level play caller and a quarterback who's played like Brock Purdy. I mean, Pittsburgh was the place that ultimately, after he vetoed New England and vetoed Cleveland, he wanted to go. Mike Tomlin, I get why you want to play for Mike Tomlin, because every year you're going to be in the fight.
Yes.
But Russell Wilson and Justin Fields are both on 1 year contracts. You could sign there, and then next year you're playing with, I don't know who, somebody that they're drafting somewhere late in the first round, another free agent signing. Maybe it's still Russ, maybe it's Fields. You have no idea. So he didn't have the greatest option. The 49ers called everybody.
Yes.
Trying to get a wide receiver. We talked about this, it was like a month ago when I brought up the idea of, listen, the trade is still possible here. And you're like, well, who would they trade for? I said, well, it's probably someone you're not thinking of. That's where Amari Cooper's name all of a sudden comes up. They called on high-profile receivers from other teams. GMs in mid-August aren't going, you know what, yeah, let's trade the number one, number 2 receiver on our team for a second-round pick. They were never going to, exactly. You're going to get a 2 roughly for Aiyuk. Then you're going to put that out for a lesser player. Neither side could make the other part add up, and so the 49ers, as Mike Garafolo explained on the show last night, they basically gave him a choice. Listen, you can go to Pittsburgh or you can stay here and try to finish off what you started. Aiyuk said, you know what, I'm going to stay. They got to the number, and now we'll see how it goes moving forward.
Well, the moving forward is Trent Williams now. What's happening there?
I think that based on my understanding, the 49ers never thought Trent's going to retire. They think that he's going to play. They always have intended to give him an upgraded contract here once he got in the building. He's still not in the building. Not having, though, the Aiyuk pressure, I think now alleviates some of what was maybe holding things up with Trent Williams. So there have been a lot of talks. I haven't gotten the sense, at least up until yesterday, that they were close on a deal. Does it get done prior to week 1? Trent Williams is a guy, he's already racked up millions of dollars in fines this time around, but it's the same guy who sat out an entire year in Washington because he was mad at the organization and didn't want to go back there. I think that it gets done at some point. Is it going to be prior to week 1? We'll find out in the coming days.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.